On behalf of the Seattle Betsuin Buddhist Temple, welcome to today's service. Please pause and reflect during the ringing of the concho. Rinban Katsuya Kusunoki will now lead the chanting with Shuso Sango Saho, found on page 2 through 17 of the Small Observance book.
부단난 지부쇼고 正大礼拝非死滅道願成就如来正意公主世唯節弥羅本願会五辱悪事群上会往生如来如実語納発一年期愛心普段本の特例藩凡上逆法祭永流領主親友仮一味摂取信仰上昇後異の水波無明暗頓内心臓死運無上不真実真人天非如理故不無無しげ妙無暗逆心謙虚大狂気即応超絶語悪臭一切全幕本部人問心如来偶勢願仏言古代小下者善人妙分なりけ皆仏本願念仏邪見教満なく修正信行十字人人難難中死難無しインド祭天使論言中華自治騎士こそ現代諸公聖書意妙如来本勢大き釈迦如来両合戦一種五妙難天寺流主大事主とせ質の財派無権先絶大乗無情報召喚議事小安楽賢治南行六六信行異行死の楽億年皆仏本願自念即自有必上唯の上昇如来語王法大悲偶勢論天神菩薩増論説奇妙無下公如来永主から献身実公選王朝大聖願こういう本願力栄光異道群上昇一心気入苦毒大崩壊出逆入大平修習徳死蓮華創世界即昇信用精進有門の人間人数入所自本地を受け本心論乱両天使上皇乱消防殺来三蔵ルシ十条教凡朝専業気楽法天 無量光明道小有衆生回復家同社結晶道南省唯明浄土活入万全自力変言宗円満特合感染症三風三神経本言増末放滅道品一生増悪地偶税死安両害小明化全道独名仏生意公愛上産業逆悪公有名有名有語有権因念介入本願第一回行者小樹金剛心狂気一年総合用意大と逆三人即所保障市場楽原神公開一内教返帰安養官一切先祖出身反戦人法家二道小弁流極重悪人有小物我薬剤非摂取中煩悩証言水不見大非無見上昇が本資源空明仏教連民全幕本部に新宗教書公編集戦弱本願具悪性現来生じ人伝下ケチ義上異生死即入着上無義楽一致新人異能入偶教内自主死と上祭無限極上悪道族自主愚道心有化心死高創世自法美人世 せの我らこそ今後の信心ばかりにて長く生じを捨て果てて次年の浄土に至るなれ皆の本願信ずべし本願信ずる人は皆摂取不捨の利益にて無常学をば悟るなりナモアミダナモアミダ仏ナモアミダナモアミダ仏皆の栄光を成就して王祖元素二つなりこれらの栄光によりてこそ信行ともに得しむなれ皆大悲の誓願の深く親善人は皆寝ても覚めても隔てなくナモアミダ仏をとろべしナモアミダナモアミダ仏ナモアミダナモアミダ仏ナモアミダナモアミダ仏ナモアミダナモアミダ仏ナモアミダナモアミダ仏ナモアミダナモアミダ仏如来大悲の本読は身を粉にしても応ずべし知種知識の音読も骨を砕きてもシャすべしナモアミダ仏ナモアミダ仏ナモアミダ仏ナモアミダ仏ナモアミダ仏ナマンダナマンダナマンダナマンダ
Please stand if you're comfortable doing so for the Gatha, We Are One, found in the White Gatha book on page 150.
Listen to Amida's teachings. Listen with your heart, listen with your mind to Amida Buddha's teachings. Namo Amida Butsu, singing Namo Amida Butsu. All of the world is bright, singing Namo Amida Butsu. We are one. Peace and harmony in Amida's land. Peace and harmony within me. Put our hands together, bow our heads, thankful to Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu, singing Namo Amida Butsu. All of the world is bright, singing Namo Amida Butsu. We are one. We are one.
Please remain standing for the reading of the Jodo Shinshu Creed 2, found on page 12 of the Purple Service Book. I affirm my faith in Amida's infinite wisdom and compassion. Reciting the sacred name, I shall live with strength and joy. I shall look to Amida's guiding light as I reflect upon my imperfect self. I live with gratitude for the perfect compassion which surrounds me at all times. I shall follow Amida's teachings. I shall understand the right path and resolve to spread the true teachings. I rejoice in Amida's wisdom and compassion. I shall respect and help my fellow beings and work for the good of my community. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Please be seated. Rinban Kusunoki will now deliver today's Dharma message.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming to this Sunday service this morning. We just finished our Bon Odori last weekend. Then yesterday was White River Buddhist Temple's Bon Odori. Then I really surprised. Lots of people came. Lots of people came to White River Buddhist Temple's Bon Odori. I truly appreciate it. Then we really enjoyed the dancing. Then, of course, Seattle one too. We had lots of people. Lots of people came to Seattle Betsin's Bon Odori. Then I feel lots of people are waiting. Last couple of years, we are not able to have a Bon Odori. So lots of people came back to the Bon Odori. They are really looking forward to having a Bon Odori in person. That's how I feel. So this coming Saturday, Tacoma Buddhist Temple, we have one more chance to dance. So if we have time, please go to Tacoma Buddhist Temple's Bon Odori. So that's this coming Saturday, probably starting around 4. So please double check with the Tacoma Buddhist Temple's website. Then if you really like, you can also go to the Oregon Buddhist Temple's Bon Odori. That's the following week. So that's on Saturday. So 2 more chances we have to do the Bon Odori. So today, I decided to chant this Shuso Sango Saho. probably, I don't know. I don't remember I don't know after I came to Seattle if I used this Shuso Sango Saho or not. Maybe before me, Seattle Betsin must have used this service book because I found this service book in my office. So I think Seattle Betsin had this service before. Then this was in commemoration Shinran Shonin 750th memorial observances. So that was held in 2011, I believe, 2011, 2012. This year, whole entire year. So Honganji officiated this service. Then at that time, Honganji created a new music service. So today, without music, we just chanted. So by the way, today, lots of singing. So this one, and we are one. So lots of singing today. That's a good exercise for Sunday morning. So then this one, if we do the full service, we can use the electric organ. So, using the accompaniment of the organ, then also the gagaku music. So then taiko drum. So this is a collaboration of, not only the chanting, using lots of musical instruments to conduct this service. So hopefully sometime this year or next year's Honko service in January, so Seattle Betsin, fortunately, we have a gagaku group. So we ask gagaku group to practice, for this service. Then maybe I may have to ask Kemi to practice those musical, organ, piano accompaniment too. Then we have a taiko group here, our temple. So I may ask those Matsuri taiko group if, of course, we don't have, we are supposed to use the gagaku taiko for this service. So this is different from, regular taiko drum. However, I think we can still use the regular taiko drum for this service too. So maybe to celebrate our, let's see, if it is for Honko service, we can have entire Sangha member join, not only the ministers, everyone can join that by the chanting or some musical instrument, then we can have Honko service together. Or if we have enough time to practice, we may be able to do the November's music service. That's maybe too soon. We may have a little more time to practice, maybe. That's I have to think, I have to plan. Then this service, traditional sutra chanting is just the chanting. Just, using without any musical instrument, we just chant. So this is something new, something different. Then at the beginning was, regular shoshinge with Junirai melody. So when we chant, when we do the service or major service to chant together with lots of people, we sometimes use this melody, shoshinge with the Junirai melody. So this was created for that purpose. Not only one person chant, everyone can chant together. So that's why, that's 4 lines is one set, then we repeat the same melody. So that's why, that's easy to remember the melody. So then anybody can chant this shoshinge. The shoshinge is, of course, well, yesterday we had a YBL retreat. Then we chanted the shoshinge in the morning. So looks like they are all sleepy. I heard they went to bed like at 3, 4 a.m. They're praying. That makes sense. That's the way how the youth retreat always. So then they come to the morning service, then we chanted the shoshinge. Then after the chanting of shoshinge, I asked them the question, who wrote the shoshinge? Do you have the answer? Who wrote the shoshinge? So shoshinge is our founder, Shinran Shonin wrote. So we regularly chant the Jusege or Sambutsuge. That's from the larger sutra. those sutras are Shakyamuni Buddha's message. Shakyamuni Buddha delivered the message, then later someone write it down. So these words came from Shakyamuni Buddha. That's the Juseige or Sambutsuge, which we normally chant. Then today is Shoshinge, and after Shoshinge, we recited the Wasan as well, the hymn, poems. So Shoshinge and those hymns are found that Shinran Shonin wrote these Shoshinge and poems about 800 years ago. So we are still using these original writings of our founder Shinran Shonins. Then of course English translation is available. If you want to study the meaning of the Shoshinge, you can read the English translation. I think this Purple Service book has an English translation. Then nowadays online, there are so many classes to study the Shoshinge as well. So Shoshinge is a part of the Kyogyo Shinsho, what is our founder Shinran Shonin's writing, through teaching, practice, and realization. Through teaching, practice, and realization. Then Shoshinge is a kind of, I would say, the summary of entire book. So if you truly understand the Shoshinge, this Shoshinge, you truly understand the Jodo Shinshu teaching. But to understand the Shoshinge, you have to study entire sutras. So sutras and seven masters teaching. So that deep teaching is in this short chanting of Gatha of Shoshinge. So it is good to, when you want to really study Jodo Shinshu teachings, it is good to read the Shoshinge and our founder Shinran Shonin's writings. So because, according to the teaching of Buddhism, it says 84,000 sutras. So which means, I would say maybe Shakyamuni Buddha delivered 84,000 teachings, Dharma message, 2,500 years ago. Then, someone write it down on the paper. Then there's a scrolls, the teachings exist. Now, our temple also has English translation, the version of those scrolls. Then, of course, those translation is difficult, from one language to another language. Not easy to translate from one language to another language. So that's why there are more than one translations, Chinese translations. So from Sanskrit to Chinese, according to larger sutra, it's a 12 different translations. Then 5 are still exist. 7 are missing. We don't have these 7 Chinese translation anymore. 5 are still exist. Then among these 5, I don't think I can tell which translation is a good translation. So I need someone to tell me, you should use this one. Then I need also someone to tell me how I should understand this. Because if I just read the sutras, I don't think I can understand correctly. So lots of difficult words or technical terms. So that's easily misinterpret the sutra if I read by myself. So that's why we have to follow someone's guidance. We need someone's guidance. So that's our founder, Shinran Shonin. Our Jodo Shinshu teaching, the becoming a Jodo Shinshu followers means we understand Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching through our founder, Shinran Shonin's interpretation. So each sect of Buddhism, their own founders, right? Then they are, each school's followers learning how their founders understand Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching. So our sect of Buddhism, Jodo Shinshu, we are following our founder Shinran's interpretation, how Shinran interpret, understand, appreciate Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching. So that's our school of Jodo Shinshu, true Pure Land school. Then this, our founder Shinran Shonin wrote it, unfortunately, he wrote lots of books, writings. So we are able to read his original writings. Then fortunately, we have an English translation as well. So that's why we can study how our founder Shinran Shonin understood Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching. So that's we are learning. So if you want to try to study Buddhism by yourself on your own, please try it if you can. Yeah. Then please let me know how you understand those Shakyamuni Buddha's teachings, Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching or sutras. But our school of Jodo Shinshu, our teaching is, that's a common understanding, is we are the followers of founder Shinran Shonin, how he understood the Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching. So when we read English translation of Shoshinge or Wasans, we can get some information or appreciation of Shinran Shonin, how Shinran Shonin appreciated Shakyamuni Buddha's teaching. So then in this book, including the Ondoksan, the last one, Ekoku, there are 7 wasans are included. So please open the page 8. This is the first one. It's a Jodo wasan number 82. So let me read this English translation. Seeing the sentient beings of the Nembutsu throughout the worlds of countless as particles in the 10 quarters, the Buddha grasps and never abandons them, and therefore is named Amida. So this is the first wasan. Then number 2, page 9, Koso wasan number 95. My eyes being blinded, hindered by blind passions, I cannot perceive the light that grasps me, yet the great compassion without tiring illuminates me always. So this is the number 2, second wasan. I introduced this wasan in my Japanese Dharma message this morning. Then page 10 is a Nembutsu. Then page 11 is a Koso wasan number 76. Only with the diamond-like Shinjin can we, living in the evil world of the 5 defilements, completely abandon birth and death forever and reach the pure land of naturalness. Then page 12. Now from here is a Shozo Matsuwasan number 1. Entrust yourself to Amida's primal vow through the benefit of beings grasped never to be abandoned. All who entrust themselves to the primal vow attain the supreme enlightenment. Then number 13, page 13 is a Nembutsu. Then number 14 is again the Koso wasan number 34. Amida has fulfilled the directing of virtue, which has 2 aspects, that for going forth and that for our return. Through these aspects of the Buddha's directing of virtue, we are brought to realize both mind and practice. Then page 15, Shozo Matsuwasan number 54, those who deeply entrust themselves to Amida's vow of great compassion should all say Namo Amida Butsu constantly, whether they were waking or sleeping. Then the last page, number 17, this is a famous song, Ondoksan, famous poem, Ondoksan, Shozo Matsuwasan number 59. Such is the benevolence of Amida's great compassion that we must strive to return it even to the breaking of our bodies. Such is the benevolence of the masters and true teachers that we must endeavor to repay it even to our bones becoming dust. So this is the 7 wasans, which are, someone who made this service picked these 7 hymns, wasans, because these are really important wasans. Then in these 6 wasans also, there are some uniqueness or some important teaching of Jodo Shinshu. So today, Do you have any, which one do you prefer? Do you have any preference? So you can think about it, it is nice to have your favorite hymns or wasans you have. So among these wasans, I think some wasans it says, Amida's rights grasps, then never abandoned. The Buddha grasps and never abandons them. So this is one of the teaching which telling us about what kind of Buddha Amida Buddha is. So Amida Buddha grasps and never abandons them. So in Japanese we call sesshu fusha, sesshu fusha. Once grasps, never abandoned. So sometimes we are saying, Amida Buddha accepting me just as we are, accepting me just as we are. So that's, sometimes maybe in my Dharma message or some other ministers' Dharma message, sometimes we hear that kind of word. Amida Buddha is accepting me just as they are, just as we are. But these are more like a Buddha kind of grasps that never abandoned, never release you, you cannot run away anymore. So that's a way how describe Amida Buddha's compassion. So sometimes, I pray with my son. Then my son sometimes, running away from me. I just chasing him. Then I hold him. So this is just one example. Amida Buddha, maybe one way to understand the aspect of Amida Buddha is maybe Amida Buddha is chasing you because you are always running away from the Amida Buddha. So I think I truly feel I am doing that. I was born and raised at the temple family. Then always, Amida Buddha's teaching was there because I was raised at the temple. But, I was forced to attend all the Dharma school service every Saturday, every week. Then, being honest, I didn't like it. So every Saturday, my family temple's Dharma school was on Saturday night. So I didn't like it. So I'm always thinking how I can graduate from Dharma school. How I can be away, how I can excuse myself to be away from the Dharma school. I keep thinking that. But because I am living at the temple, there is no excuse. So when I graduated from the high school, I chose the university or college away from the temple, purposely. That was one of the reasons why I chose the university which away from the temple. Then, I don't have to go to the service anymore. I don't have to help my father. My father was a Buddhist minister, Then, however, that was about 5 hours drive, I can go back to my temple. So this means now, okay, Katsu, Obon time. It is one of the busiest season at the temple. Please come back to help. I can say no. So I have to go back because only 5 hours drive. It is possible to go back. Okay, I come. Then that was doing every summer. Then New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, also one busy season. So I go back to the temple. Then I used to help the temple. Then, but still, I was keep thinking, how I can be away from the temple? 5 hours is too close to me. So I have to be away more. So then, that's one reason why I choose to apply for the Japanese Peace Corps. Then I took a test. Then I was accepted. Then I was sent to Zimbabwe, Africa. So that was really far enough There is no way, right? There is no way to coming back to the temple for the, to help the Obon service. So that was really, I was really comfortable. However, that was only 2 years term. After 2 years, I have to come back to Japan. So then same thing happens, every summer, every New Year's, I go back to the temple and help. So that's a kind of one of the motivation to think myself, think how I can get a job outside of Japan. Because as long as I'm living in Japan, I can go back to the temple all the time whenever my father called me. So that's why I always thinking how I can go to other country. Then I was looking for, on the internet, I was looking for some job to be outside of Japan. But, I didn't have any skills. My English is not good enough. So, that's not easy to find a job outside of the country. Then some become a Buddhist minister, you can go to outside of Japan. Okay. Oh, okay, that sounds interesting. That's the reason I went to Kyoto to study Buddhism. Then now, I am the head minister of Seattle Betsun Buddhist Temple. I'm living by the temple now. So, when I was young, I was always thinking I wanted to be away from the temple. Eventually, I became a Buddhist minister, then became a resident minister of Seattle Betsun Buddhist Temple. So I really feel, Amida Buddha grasps and never abandoned. Although, I moved away from the temple, I choose the courage away from the temple, but still, Amida Buddha was, okay, you eventually come back. You can go now. Then I went to Zimbabwe, Africa. Still, Amida Buddha, I think, from my point of view from now, Amida Buddha, but including maybe my father's thought, okay, go. Just go. Then eventually, I'm circling back. Then I come back to the temple. So I think all of you has a different experience. So maybe especially the younger generations, most of the time people away from the temple, but sometimes eventually coming back to the temple. So that's, as a temple's resident minister or, as a temple, we have to be always ready for them to come back. I think my father was waiting for me to say, I want to be the Buddhist minister. My father never forced me to become a Buddhist minister. Maybe my older brother may be different because he has to take over his place. So, but as a second son, my father never asked me, maybe he wanted me to become a Buddhist minister, but he never forced me to become a Buddhist minister. He never forced me to do any Buddhist practice. So he was waiting, I think just waiting. I feel that was my father's compassion for me to come back to the temple, to this teaching. So everybody has a different experience, different life, but this is one of the Amida Buddha's compassion. The aspect of the Amida Buddha grasps and never abandons. In Japanese, we call this Sesshu Fusha. Please remember this teaching today. So thank you for attending this service. Please join me in Gassho to conclude my Dharma message. Seeing the sentient beings of the Nembutsu throughout the world's countless are the practical in the 10 quarters. The Buddha grasps and never abandons them, and therefore is named Amida. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you.
So first, I want to thank Rinban Kusunoki for his message today, but I also want to give a couple details about Rinban Kusunoki. First, he is one of 3 ministers in the BCA that is certified for chanting, so we are very fortunate to have him, and that is why he's bringing forth these musical chants. This is his specialty. Second, he did not like to go home for Obon, I'm sure, because in the Japanese tradition, they have to go to each member's house during Obon to give a service. So if you have 1,000 members, that means you go and do 1,000 services. You must visit them within the Obon season. So the Japanese American tradition is that we go to cemeteries, and so that's why he conducts the cemetery services. But if we had him bring back the tradition, I'm sure he would run away from Obon season here too. So thank you, Rinban Kusunoki. The temple is grateful for your participation in today's service. For additional information on upcoming services, seminars, and events within the Seattle Betsuin and the Jodo Shinshu community, please see the Betsuin's website or their Facebook page. This ends the online portion of today's service.